I loved it from the moment I saw it until the moment I read it. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about my very first DNF of 2019. Nobody is more surprised than I that I DNF'd NOS4A2 by Joe Hill. NOS4A2 had been on my TBR pretty much since it was released. And Joe Hill has been a TBR author since before that. I've just never had the chance, to be honest with you, his books are long. His books are long and sort of intimidating if you've never read an author before to start a book that is like this thick. I think I was intimidated. I think that there was always something that I could read faster or something that would be more entertaining at the time, or, you know, I think I had some insecurities in the back of my mind about Joe Hill's books, but I really truly anticipated enjoying myself. There's sort of this understanding that they have technical merit. He's the son of Stephen King. You know, I'm sure the kid can write. I knew that they would be rich, dense stories. Just kind of instinctually knew that. I truly thought that this would, you know, that there would be nothing but great experiences. NOS4A2 appealed to me because it seemed clever. The NOS4A2 license plate cover, it seemed very clever to me. It just had this atmosphere about it. The story is about a seemingly immortal man who abducts children that he feels are disadvantaged because of who their parents are. So if he sees little Timmy and Timmy's mom has a bunch of tattoos and a cigarette hanging from her mouth, then of course she's an unfit mother and Timmy needs to be rescued. So he abducts those kinds of children, or children in those kinds of circumstances, and takes them to this otherworldly place called Christmasland. In the meantime, he makes sure that their parents will not be stirring up any trouble as far as law enforcement is concerned. He just has them killed. The protagonist of this novel is actually a girl named Victoria. When the novel begins, she's a child, she's a young girl who just realizes that she has an uncanny ability to find lost things. So one day, Vic gets on her bike and she rides across this bridge. And as soon as she crosses the bridge, she's in another place, like a place much further away than just a short across the bridge ride. So while I didn't finish the book, one can assume, or I'm going to go ahead and make the assumption, that Vic is our protagonist who has an ability to find lost things, because she's the only person that can arrive in this, like I said, kind of otherworldly fantasy land and save these children, is I'm guessing how it plays out. I made it halfway. Now, that's not to say that I wimped out early or anything. This is a 20-hour audiobook, people. This thing is a chunker. I made it 10 hours through this audiobook. And I just had to stop. I'm not here to discourage people from reading it. I'm not here to try to claim that Joe Hill can't write or that NOS4A2 is a bad book. None of the above. I'm simply here to talk about my very first DNF experience of 2019 and tell you why this particular book did not work for me and how shocked I am that that's the case. Ultimately, here's the problem. This book doesn't take itself seriously enough for me, which kind of makes me sound like a tool, right? Kind of paints me in a bad light, but I am a serious person, and while I read for fun, part of reading for me is to evoke certain emotion and to do so purposefully and instantly. Now that I'm older, now that I've been doing this booktube thing, now that I've been really analyzing everything that I read and how I feel about everything that I read, what I've realized is that I read in order to draw up an emotion that I want to feel at a given time. Sometimes, like recently, after reading a real hard-hitting, an emotional book, I needed to feel lighthearted and energetic and happy. And I immediately reached for a contemporary romance novel. And when it comes to horror, it's not that I want to feel angry or scared or full of rage or vengeful or hateful. It's not that. It's that I believe that all of us have a certain amount of darkness inside of us, and not to wax philosophical here, I do believe that we have curiosities about atrocious things. And I believe that, I think that, we long to experience those feelings and those things in some way, yet we definitely don't want to experience them for real, right? Experiencing through a book is like exercising that darkness. It's like calling it to the surface, processing it, and then discarding it. Part of the game of being civilized, part of being a functional adult and a decent human being is learning how to process or play with or recognize that twisted nature in all of us, recognizing it and doing something productive with it and not taking it to a dark place, right? I feel like that's why I read horror or listen to the music that I listen to. My God, I don't look like a Slipknot fan, but I am, When it comes to NOS4A2, and I'm going to need everybody's help to tell me if this is a NOS4A2 issue or if this is a Joe Hill thing. I am unable to read it and feel what I want to feel and process what I want to process and accomplish that. Like it doesn't allow me to read for the reasons that I want to read. I feel like NOS4A2 is better suited to people who are truly giddy over horror. And I'm not talking a sick, twisted, kind of way. I mean, like the people who will go see a horror movie to sit there and go, oh yeah, did you see that? Like that was awesome, or that was cool. I sound like a 39-year-old mother. That I feel like NOS4A2 is for those folks. And I can't even watch a horror movie because I can't deal with gore. There are those who will watch someone's intestines get ripped out on the big screen and go, oh, that's just fake. If somebody else is having a problem with it, they're like, it's fake. It's just fake. Well, here's the thing. Like, I don't read books or watch movies that I'm going to convince myself are fake. Like, the point to me of reading books and watching movies is that they're supposed to transport you to a place of believability. You're supposed to be able to make that your reality, at least for a little while. And that's not what this kind of book is. Part of the reason that is the case is because the author does not allow what is truly horrific about the novel to be horrific. Joe Hill diminishes the horrifying aspects of child abduction and murder and dismemberment. He diminishes the intensity of those with other things. Like, for instance, there's a scene in this book where a character goes into an abandoned church. The whole scene is so uncomfortable and so disgusting and unnerving. And not because anything horrific happens at all. Just because of the things Joe Hill throws in there. The character sees a pair of dirty underwear on the floor and then mentions as an aside, those underwear could not possibly fit a girl over 10 years old. Stop right there. So the reader is like, why in the F would there be 10-year-olds dirty underwear on the floor? I don't even want to contemplate why that item would, like, that's freaking disturbing. That's upsetting. Then the character's in there for a little while longer, and a bird shits in his mouth. Okay, what? And then shortly thereafter, he accidentally puts his hand down on a used condom and ends up like shaking it, and it lands in his hair. Ugh. Awful. Kudos to Joe Hill for conveying that much ew. Congratulations. You evoked some feelings out of me. But what I mean by that is then he'll talk about the abduction of a child or the murder of that child's parent, and it's not nearly as upsetting as that kind of stuff. So you see what I mean? Like, the stuff that's supposed to be horrifying isn't. And the stuff that's supposed to be mundane is the most upsetting stuff in the book, in the first half of the book. Because to be fair, I have no idea what happens in the second half of the book. You know, likewise, the character responsible for murdering the parents of the missing children, he has, I believe, an undisclosed mental disability. He's very childlike. His perspective on things isn't serious. Like, he doesn't take what he does seriously. It's not, it's not given the weight it deserves. Like, murder and dismemberment is no big deal. It's like a childlike activity for him. So, I mean, all of these things, they kept me off kilter a little bit, because I really wanted to, I really thought this would be a more traditionally horrifying book, and it's kind of not. Adding to the not so seriousness is the fact that every character in this book is like a caricature. The flaws of these characters, holy crap, the flaws of these characters are amplified like you would not believe. And it makes for really dramatic, unrealistic behavior and really deplorable behavior from a lot of characters. And you just feel like maybe Joe Hill doesn't like people very much, But I don't take it seriously, because these people aren't realistic. Like, I don't see these people in my day-to-day lives. And we're not talking villains, because I know villains. I'm no stranger to supernatural horror or creature horror or any of that. Like, I'm not expecting that level of realism. But the characters, both the ones I have to fear and the ones I have to root for, need to be believable portraits of people, if they're going to be human, so that I can feel, ultimately, I just didn't care about these people. Like, that's the ultimate reason that I DNF'd the book, is because I was growing increasingly pissed off at certain things that I've described, and would have been willing to feel that anger if I cared what happened. For instance, one of the very first books that I ever reviewed on BookTube was called Hater by David Moody. I hated that book. It made me so angry. I was so mad during that entire read. But I read the whole thing because I cared what happened. And when it comes down to it, I didn't care. I didn't care if these kids got found. I didn't care if Victoria turned out to be the hero. I didn't care. What helped me, the final straw that helped me make that decision, in the middle of the book, there's a confrontation between our two villains or antagonists and our protagonist, Victoria, involving the abduction of Victoria's own child. Okay, so this is serious here. This is serious. You've got your three major players in this book. And you've got something very high at stake. I mean, there's chaos, and there's fighting, and there's physical violence, and there's supernatural means that are preventing Victoria from successfully overcoming these people and getting her son. Like, the stakes could not be higher. This was the most important thing that had happened in this book up until that point. Have I communicated the seriousness of the situation well enough? I hope that I have. Because in the middle of this shit, Joe Hill cracks a fart joke. I'm not kidding. The one moment that I really was invested in what was going to happen, Joe Hill writes something to the effect of, I might be paraphrasing a little bit here, and he was so shocked, he farted. What just happened? That was my reaction. Like, what? Are you kidding me? Way to take me out of the story. Like, way to give me the situation that I actually care about and yank me by the hair out of it by cracking a third grade joke. I guess you've conveyed that he was shocked, but was that the best way to do it? Was at that point, I was so like, are you kidding me? If you don't care what's going to happen to these people, how do you expect me to care what's going to happen to these people? At that point, I hit pause and went on with my life. Like, I seriously thought, can I keep doing this? Should I keep doing this? This is dumb. This is stupid. Like, I want to take this book seriously. I want to like this book. But the author keeps sabotaging that for me. I was pretty upset. Obviously, I was pretty upset. But I did seriously, there was a lot in the book that made me uncomfortable. There was a lot that kept making me angry. And then we got to that point and I thought, do I want this for another 10 hours? Do I really want to? I mean, do I care? Could this book do anything at this point to make up for the time spent? Probably not. Not for me personally. And again, like, I can't stress enough that clearly this man has an ability to write a book. I don't think he's cashing in on the success of his father. I think that he's talented. I think that he's intelligent. And I think that what he's done is purposeful. I don't think this book exists to cause problems for people like me. I don't think this book is an accident either. I think that this is the book that Joe Hill wanted to write. And I think that there's a huge audience for this book. I just am not part of that audience. And that sucks because I really wanted to like it. I promise you, I really wanted to like it. Some books you see and you buy and you just know they're the best. This is the best book. I bet you book is amazing. That's what I thought. It'll go down in history as the first DNF book for 2019. Let me know if you've read NOS4A2 and what you thought, if you agree or disagree with me. Please feel free to express either opinion. Like I said, I'm not trying to throw shade at Joe Hill or NOS4A2. I'm just really trying to explain why a girl like me doesn't read a book like this. And let me know if you have experience with other Joe Hill novels, because I'm really interested in figuring out whether I jump ship or give him as an author another try. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all very soon.